My friends, as always, and I know I say this in every single pod, but what an absolute pleasure it is to be here with you. This is I'm Sorry I Wasn't Listening. And on this pod, one of the many things that we have tried to do is bring value in spaces that we felt have been neglected. And on this podcast, a lot of what we've talked about over the last 19 episodes has revolved around men's well-being and just forward progression for people in general. This happens to be a very monumentous day for us. This is episode 20. And most people may not recognize why that has such significance, but I want to explain, if I may. There are statistics that say that most podcasts don't reach episodes 3 through 5. And a lot of those same statistics say that after that, about 90% fall off within those first 5 episodes. The other 9%, taking us all the way up to 99%, don't reach episode 20. So I have to ponder for a moment and ask myself, why have we been so consistent? And the answer that always comes to mind is when I come out here on these beautiful, beautiful environments, what I always take away more than what I see in this amazing world is what you all provide to me in regards to value. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this with me. I have Chris Gordert on my left. I have Big Mike on the far right. I have Andrew right here next to me, who's been holding it down since the very beginning. I have to tell you, Andrew, what I didn't expect when we came out here and looked to provide value was for me to leave with so much. And sometimes I leave with a sense of selfishness because of how much I take away from this. I can only hope that us getting it on camera will help for other people to be able to take away that same value. And with that being said, a conversation and a question that I wanted to pose today came up when Mike and I were at the house. And Mike was explaining to me what I have coined the term as box theory. And this is an ability that Mike has progressed over the years in to be able to compartmentalize input from individuals, whether it be positive or negative, and decide exactly what he's going to do with it. It's almost as though he has full control over exactly how he's going to respond. And although that may seem simple in nature, it's very hard to do in a practical setting. Chris, I've watched you over the last few months that we've known each other, and I've seen you go through a lot of things, and I've heard about even more complex situations that you've had in the past. I wanted to know, because although you didn't tell me the theory, I see you practice it every single time that we meet. How did you find the space where you were able to understand when and how it was appropriate for you to be able to shine your light in certain areas, and when you and how you don't receive information and energy from other people in the right times?
Like we talked about earlier, like I told you guys, before I talk on any podcast or I do any type of filming, I always ask God what exactly I want to talk about, in the ways I want to talk about it, in the most purposeful ways to say the things that I can to affect people. And like I told you guys earlier, this is exactly the conversation that popped up in my head while I was walking on the beach. Talk about emotional maturity, right? In terms of emotional maturity, the amount of trauma and stress that you can deal with as a person, for me, always brings the capacity in which you can actually deal with the problems that you're dealing with as a person. So when I hear things like, how can someone deal with a problem with somebody else? I have to then ask that question, what has that person been through? And has that person healed from the things that they've been through? And like I told you guys earlier, I think that people that have a purpose and have a structure in their life that actually has meaningful stuff that they're going to do in their lives, they had to go through something to reach the capacity in which they could deal with stress, they could deal with problems, they could deal with trauma in a way that people are going to follow them while they're leading. So I've been through so much stuff, I've healed from so much stuff, and it's brought my capacity in which I could deal with problems and trauma and stress to a point that anytime I deal with anybody and anything, it's minute compared to the things that I've been through. When you've had your kids taken from you, that doesn't compare to somebody coming to me being rude. That capacity isn't even close to what I've been through. So I can keep a calm head, I can keep calm in any situation, and I always know, like I told you guys earlier, that everything that someone does to me or acts towards me is a reflection of what they're going through, not what I am. And so I know that I'm just a mirror to whatever they're going through, and I do not have to receive that gift, because like I told you guys before, the wise man once said, if I give you a gift and you don't receive it, whose gift is it, right? It's the person who was trying to give you the gift. And I take that as anger. If someone comes up to me and is angry, well, you suck, why do you think you're so special? Why are you talking like that on social media? That's not my insecurities to deal with. Don't give me the gift that you don't want to help hold yourself, right? And I know that now because I've dealt with a lot of negativity through social media and all the things that have been said about me behind closed doors. And I was forced in a position that I had to figure that out, because I would have went crazy if I would have sat there and thought about everything that everybody said about me, right? So I understood that if you're saying something about me, man, I feel sorry for you, because you must be really going through something. And if I'm really shining my light as hard as I can shine it every single day, and putting forth the right foot and giving my heart to everything I'm giving it to, and then you have the audacity to try and bring my light down, you're a sad individual, right? So I got to a space that I understood that I can only control my circle. And anything that comes near my circle, I can either receive that into my bubble or I can block it on my bubble. And I've decided not to accept those things. So even if any situation, I, no matter what, shine my light, because I control my situation. And it doesn't matter how you come at me, because I'm going to still stand up, be a good person. I'm going to treat you with respect, regardless of the situation outside my bubble, because that's who I am. Might not be who you are, but that's exactly who I am. And I'm going to show love, I'm going to show light, and I'm going to show respect, regardless if that's not shown to me, because I'm solid. You might not be solid, but I am.
Yeah.
And that's what matters to me.
And that's what should matter. Mm-hmm. This theory of recognition of what people have gone through or are going through is necessary. It's just as necessary as understanding who you are and valuing yourself. My mother used to say, you never know what people went through before they walked through your door. And what I always thought about, that I thought was at the precipice of importance, was understanding that although they may have gone through something, it is not your obligation to take that energy with you. Mm-hmm. All you can do is try to be as respectful and kind and forward progressive as possible. Mike, when you talk to me about this theory of box theory, I really never asked one of the most important questions. How was it first introduced to you?
So it was introduced to me through therapy, and in therapy, like, they taught us the thing that pretty much meant box therapy. I just made it to my own concept that I can explain to other people, but it was introduced to me through there. And the first thing about it was radical acceptance. So whenever an event happens to you, a significant event, what you're supposed to do is, for the box theory, is you're supposed to pretty much accept what happens before you react to it. You take the whole event and just put it mentally, like, in the middle of your view. After that, you're supposed to see what caused that event to happen, right? And then after that, on the outcome of it, you're supposed to think about what you want to happen after this event. I always use the 3 to 5 year little theory. So pretty much, however I react to this right now, how do I want the outcome to be in 5 years? So if an event happens to me, I start thinking about what should happen. It's either I can, like, negatively lash out against it, I can help out the situation, I can just completely disregard it, because I think about what's going to happen 5 years after that. So, for example, if I get or if somebody steps on my shoes, everybody's drunk, somebody gets mad, I'm currently in an event that I'm thinking about the box theory. Should I fight back? If I fight back, there could be something crazy that happens. For example, they have a weapon, or I lose a friend, or something like stupid like that. And then would I be mad in 5 years I lost this friend, or mad that I got shot, or end up in the hospital with medical bills and stuff like that?
Has something like that ever happened to you, which is why you learned to be that way?
Many times. I went through a situation where I needed therapy. And then a couple of just daily things in life, stresses at work, stresses with family, friends, stuff like that. So now I use the box therapy for literally everything, because I just think about it so fast. Mm-hmm. So I pretty much look at everything from a third person point of view instead of an emotional first person point of view to see, like, the possible outcome.
I look at that as you have amazing street IQ.
Amazing what?
Street IQ.
Oh.
Because if we're in a street fight, the number one thing to do in that situation is negate the whole whatever's going on and get out of the situation, because you know the severity of what it could be.
Yeah.
And so that's like survival. Like Krav Maga, right? Hit them and then run. Like you're trying to get out of situations. So I see that as like you have a really great street IQ. Like you could be on the streets and handle yourself type thing.
I just think of if it's necessary to handle or not.
Right.
I did like the point that you made earlier about crap. Sorry. So I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead. My bad.
Well, I actually had a question for you, Mike, and then I had a question for Chris. How fast does that radical acceptance happen?
Well, the more you train for it, the quicker. So, for example, if, let's say, some guy comes out of nowhere, just pushes you, and you react, your first reaction is fight or flight. Of course, right then and there is going to be, you got to choose like really quickly. However, the more experience you have with it, the quicker you can think about what you should do when something last minute comes up. It's like fighting. If you're in a street fight, somebody fights you, they can hit you, you have no idea how to respond to it. But if you train for it, the more and more you train, you can see like people's posture and stuff like that. So it's just pretty much how much experience you have with it.
You know what's interesting about that, and we're going to move away from such dire situations, but one thing I do want to point out too, and this is why it's meaningful to think your way through confrontation, and it's meaningful to put yourself in adverse situations, especially like training for martial arts and things of that nature, is now that I've been hit a number of times in training, I feel like if you hit me in the street, it wouldn't mean the same as if I had never been hit before. Like I'm almost like, oh, we've been here before. I understand what happens next. I know what this feels like.
That was actually what I was going to say to you. You made a point of being in such a negative situation before that you know how it feels to be down there. So the next time you're stressed in that situation, since you've been there before, you're already used to it. So now you can think your way clearly out of it. So when people have trauma and they've never been in that situation, they want to lash out to everybody else. Right. It's because they've never been in that stressful situation. You have been, so you already know how to react in that situation. So that's how I think of a lot of things as well.
The way I look at it is like, so if I take a high school kid that hasn't really been through nothing, right? And their life seems so stressful because the capacity in which they can handle isn't very high because they haven't dealt with a lot of things yet. But as you become an adult and you realize that this world is not fair, and finances is hard, working is hard, paying your bills is hard, the capacity in which you could deal with stress goes up. So that now the situations that you could deal with are not as strong as they were when you were younger, right? I remember being 15 years old and thinking my life was over because my girlfriend didn't want to be with me. You know what I'm saying? But in that same day and age, like that, we all knew it didn't matter. Like the chances of me marrying that girl, I knew I wasn't going to marry that girl. But I've never dealt with things before that broke my heart. So then it crushed me, right? But then that's why we have to keep stacking those traumas and wins. I look at them as wins because they're lessons. And so every lesson I stack, the more I can deal with as a human being, so that my value as a man goes up, because now I can lead better. My family can trust me better, because if adversity hits, they're going to expect me to take a step forward, deal with that adversity in a strong manner, and be poised, stand up strong, and show how you're supposed to deal with adversity and not crumble or make the easy choice, right? Being a man is making the hard choices because you know it's the right thing to do. I'm not trying to be a nice man. I'm trying to be a good man. And a good man isn't always nice. A good man stands up for his beliefs. He stands up for his morals and his character. If I see that guy over there beat his girlfriend up, a nice guy wouldn't say nothing. A good man would go interject himself, right? I want to be a good man. And sometimes that means making very fucking hard decisions. Hard decisions that will benefit others because you're a leader.
Nice is also too heavily subject to opinions. I like morals better. I much prefer to be a good man because I can define what a good man is and live by that principle. Andrew, you're a good man. There's not even a question behind it. You're just a good man. And I want to give you your flowers now. Good men like you are rare. Good men like all of you are rare. When you're in a situation let's not go so dire as to fighting, but when you're in a situation where somebody is providing negative input into your space, your bubble, as Chris referred to it as, how do you make movements to eliminate that energy, dissipate that energy, move forward?
I'd say the last two and a half to 3 years, I've learned, because this is something that I struggled with, kind of like allowing the negativity to kind of affect my life to in a sense where it's like it consumed me, like it filled my cup up, and now, like he said, my life was over type of thing. And I like what Mike kind of said, like kind of being that third person and kind of looking at it from the outside. And so now it's like I've learned and have practiced multiple times through, obviously, going through it and things like that, to allow myself to just speak last. Like a biggest thing is that my therapist told me is like, be the last one to speak and say something. If you're the last one to speak, then you're already ahead of everyone else. Because most of the times in situations like that, whether they're they're very dire situations, or situations that are just very simply handled, the main objective and the main goal is to get a reaction. And by me not saying anything, I'm not giving it a reaction. And so what I've learned from me is I'm already a pretty quiet person. Like I like to people watch a lot. I like to just kind of keep to myself when it comes to like conversations, and especially when it comes to like confrontation and things like that. Or when it comes to like stressful situations, I almost tend to like kind of shut down, but not really. I kind of just step back and analyze. I'm a big analyzer. I like to think a lot. I like to think 10 steps ahead. I like to think what I'm doing next week, what I'm doing tomorrow, and do it minute by minute. And that's allowed me to kind of project that into my stressful situations, to, in a sense, think about the situation, kind of similar to like what Mike does, is putting it in a box and really figuring out, okay, like, is this something that's going to benefit me tomorrow, next week, or is it not? And so for me, it's like, should I give it a reaction? Should I get upset at it? Should I get mad at it? Because what I've realized, 90% of the time, by me even reacting or saying anything, it's not going to really do anything.
Yes.
And there's a very minimal 10% where you actually saying something is going to do anything for the situation.
Actually, I want to touch on the point which you said about speaking last. I'm huge on psychology. Like I study psychology, and I study like how to be a powerful human being, and when you like command power when you walk into rooms, that's actually one of the top 5 things you want to do as a powerful human being is you always let everybody talk first, because then you can assess what everybody else is thinking, so you can construct your own point of view, and then that's where you interject your own opinions. Especially when we're talking about like confrontational situations. So I have this story about my dog, and it's perfect in terms of where I'm trying to portray my message. We went to a dog beach. I have a big Akita, and there was this big pit bull that was across the whole beach. It was like 100 yards away. And my dog just stood there, like just tall, and he just was looking at this pit bull. And then the owner let the pit bull off the leash. The pit bull ran 100 miles an hour right at my dog. My dog didn't budge a fucking inch. And then the dog came right up to him, and he saw that he wasn't moving, and he put his brakes on, and then he laid down right in front of my dog. That showed so much power that my dog wasn't altered by this dog's intimidation. If I'm sitting at a bar and some guy's trying to fight me, and I'm standing there, I'm just staring at him, and then he's like, what? Who's powerful in that situation? He feels that. He knows that I'm not altered by you, because I've either been in that situation 1,000 times, bro, and I know you're all bark no bite, or I know that I'm gonna fucking beat your ass, bro. Like if it comes down to knuckles, you can't hang. So that shows so much confidence. And then when you let other people speak, and then you construct your opinion off of what everybody else is saying, so you can have a constructive like conversation with everybody, that shows power. And that's psychology too at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that.
Yeah, no, and I've learned to even project that to like my day-to-day life. Like even my girl said, she's like, man, like when you walk into a room and you say nothing, like it is known. And we went to a birthday party yesterday, Like, I just walked in, introduced myself. I said very, very minimal stuff. I had conversations with people. She's just like, people are attracted to that. They know that that's a powerful man right there in itself. And I learned to allow myself to, obviously, not walk with the cockiness, but walk to kind of just gauge the situation, to gauge the room, to gauge the people around me.
I love that you're saying this right now.
Exactly, and it's for me, it's like I've learned that it's honestly made me feel better about myself. When I used to say a lot of shit, when I used to bark, and give back the same energy that this person was giving me, I just felt shittier. And now that I've said a lot less, and I've just kind of gauged myself, it's allowed me to gain more confidence in myself and knowing, okay, I'm again valued. It's actually allowed me to see myself as a more high valued man than before. Again, back to the saying less adds more to your value.
I want to touch on the walking part. For me, energy is everything. You know that. I talk about it all the time. High vibrational shit, that's where I thrive at. I actually practice the way that I walk. I live across the street from a mall. And when I want to feel powerful or like I'm trying to work on my vibration, I walk through the mall. And then I walk through the mall with power, and then I see who looks at me. And then that's how I know that I'm at a high vibrational state, because when you walk and people make eye contact with you, they feel your energy. So I practice that. And when I actually, weird shit is that when I'm on a treadmill, I practice that same walk. I walk with power. I walk with confidence. That says so much about a human being. If you're like walking slouched over, like shoulders all slouched over, it says a lot about your character. It really does. And if a man is walking up tall and he's strong in his posture, it says not only one about his character, but how he perceives himself. And that's his standard for himself, is that I don't slouch. I don't be weak by having a weak posture. And another funny thing is that whenever I want to check how my vibration is, or I want to like try to make it better, I go to Dog Beach. If I know that I'm in alignment with my higher self and I know that I'm vibrating at a high rate, dogs will come up to me. They just run up to me. They want to play with me. And their owners are like, what the hell? Why is this guy? I'm like the fucking dog whisperer, dog. I'm sitting there and always like fucking 30 dogs are like trying to fucking hang out with me. And that's how I know that I'm in a high vibrational state and that I'm doing the right things in my meditations and my thought processes, and I'm not letting my negative feedback get to me and really pull me down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's different ways you could check yourself. And that's when I walk, I check in my mind to see if are people like, because people will turn, like they don't even know you're there. They'll just turn around and look at you. Yeah. And that's how you know. You felt that shit. Yeah, when I walk into a room, everybody's head snaps. I know that my shit is fucking vibrating at a high rate right now.
Yeah, and it's, the way I see it, it's a trickling effect. With that, it trickles down to now the way you speak, the way you conversate with people. Like it's a trickling effect, and it kind of adds betterment to the rest of your life. Like you said, people approach you differently, people see you differently. You, like you said, you gain that energy. If it's like now you're attracting what you see yourself as, right, and it's just lifting you up even more.
And that's one of my biggest goals, is to be such a high vibrational person that when I get into groups, the whole group vibrates higher because of that. You know what I'm saying? That's for me is true power. That's true light. If I can make everybody else better around me whenever I'm around, then I'm in my purpose, because that's all I care about. I want you all to be the best versions of yourself. So if anytime in my presence that shit starts going higher, and then you start saying shit that you've never said before, that makes me feel good, because that means I was doing the internal work to make sure that I was solid, so you guys could be solid too. You know what I mean?
Do you all have emotional, like, batteries?
Oh, fucking yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. I call it my emotional plate. And if I can't unload my emotional plate, sooner or later that plate tips over and I fucking crash. So I know that with my trauma, if I can't go in my meditations and then, unload the traumas or the things that are really bugging me, that plate gets too full, and then it takes a little straw to break the whole plate, right? So that's how I look at it. If I can't unload those things, my plate is so full that I can't even think properly. Like a little thing, like this little kid looking at me, I'll freak out right now. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't deal with shit. you haven't fucking unloaded. You're like, why is this fucking kid looking at me, dog? Like, what the fuck? You got a fucking problem? Right? Like little things like that become a problem because you haven't dealt with the things that are on your plate.
How do you know when your emotional plate is getting a little bit too full?
Shit like that. When a kid looks at me, I'm like,
yeah. Fuck that. And I mean, what are some good ways to relieve that emotional plate? Do you guys have a safe space? Do you guys have a... I have a deeper question. And then I want you to answer it as you feel. Answer it as though you're giving me advice, because I need it. I am slowly but surely moving in the direction that I want to be left alone. I am growing tired quicker of outside energies and forces. And I have done to the best of my ability to insulate myself with energies that uplift me rather than take away from me. And yet still, as I live and breathe, I can tell you that my direction is slowly moving away from all of the masses, at the very least. I see myself day after day growing towards a small cabin somewhere where I can hunt and fish and just be at what I have decided is peace. If there is a way for me to stay in this environment, I would believe it would be directly connected to my ability to continue to protect my emotional battery and also ensure that I have proper recharging for it. How do you all recharge and protect your emotional batteries?
Well, for me, I say don't run away from that feeling. That to me shows me that you're evolving to a point that this world is, in its masses hasn't able to get there yet. That part, when I hear you say that, it shows me that you're about to break out the matrix, because I'm already there. I don't fuck with nobody, dude. I'm in hermit mode all the fucking time because I know that my energy could be it can be diluted because I let the wrong people around me. The bad thing, the horrible thing about it is that when you have a 9-to-5, you don't have a fucking choice. I have a choice because I do my own business, so I can decide on who I want in my circle. But you can't, because you have to be around low vibrational people all the time, and they don't know they're low vibrational people. And that's the hard part about it. So I would say don't run away from that. Lean in a little bit more to that and say, why am I feeling like this? It's because you have a bigger purpose in the people that are around you, and they can't relate to you, so you don't fuck with them.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Should I keep trying to help them?
No. That's the thing. You will help them by shining your light just because you're living. And that's what I realized. I stopped so much going to people like, hey, here's my flashlight. You want me to shine on you? No, I just, like I said, I put the flashlight on top of my head and I just fucking shine. And when they see me shine, they do two of which things. They follow me because I'm leading the path, or they fucking hate on me. And those are two things that they have the choice of doing, and that doesn't fucking bother me either way. Because I'm only shining so I can lead, and if you don't want to follow me, then bitch, kick rocks.
I'm not angry with the world per se, but I am worried. Part of me wonders, maybe the reason that when I give my value, it is not always reciprocated or even respected, at the very least, is because maybe it's not as valuable as I thought it was. But that doesn't seem right. What I'm beginning to wonder, and what I could use your help and guidance on, is, are we supposed to try and help people at the current stage that we're at? Because I wonder if by me trying to give so much, I'm either not good at executing upon that, or I wonder if I'm not strong enough or have enough capacity to give at this current time.
When I hear you say that, it makes me hear that you're giving love with an expectation. And when you give love, true love, you give it without any expectation of anything in return. That's a monk shit right there. And so when people don't understand the value that you're bringing, so this is the metaphor that I'll give. If you've never met God, would you understand if he was in your presence? Right?
Let that one marinate a little bit.
You wouldn't even know he was there because you've never met him before. So they don't know how valuable it is because they've never had such value before in somebody giving them what they need. And you know, more than anybody else, you can only lead them to water, right? You can't fucking make them drink it. You can't drown them in it. They can only do what they can do at that point, but you can only do what you can do, which, like I said, shine the light on top of your head, do the right thing, show them what a real great person is, and if they follow, they follow. If they hate, they hate, but that's their choice. And at that point, you don't dim your light because of the reaction of somebody else because of that.
How do you figure out when your lights don't match each other at that particular time, when they don't make sense together?
And what do you mean?
I came across a situation where I thought I was the right person to help somebody through something. And I was almost blatantly told after trying and being asked to try, mind you, that it wasn't working and they didn't feel as though I was the person to help them through their problems. And I don't know why I took that so personally. Probably my ego.
Mm-hmm.
How do you assess if you are truly helping and if you are truly the right person for that task?
Have you ever learned a skill or some knowledge and immediately you go and tell someone, you regurgitate exactly what you learned?
Yes.
And verbatim, and it's they call it jargon, that you're just telling them all this information that's useless. When you first become someone who has a great light and you try to make a difference, that's what you're doing almost, in a sense, is you're trying to give them everything that you just learned. You said, I found this amazing light. I can show you the way. It'll fix all your problems. You won't have to worry about all this anxiety, all this depression, because there's this light here. When you have experienced and have matured with that light, you understand that sometimes being the right person is understanding that you're the wrong person for them. And knowing that somebody else is supposed to step in and do that for them. So you're able to walk away from them with a clean slate, with a clean conscience, because you knew that you can only help someone who wants to be helped. And if someone doesn't want to be helped, when you start maturing in that process, you can see that shit like that. You say something like, but this, but that, but what if you're not ready. You're not to a place in your life that you're ready for change. So when you mature a little bit, or you get so fed up with your own bullshit, you're willing to change and listen to the actual message that I'm giving. But until that point, I'm going to look at you and I'm going to nod.
How should we respond emotionally when people don't embrace our light?
Same thing. If I'm worried so much about where I'm shining on top of my head, if you don't respond to me, that has nothing to do with the way that I'm shining my light. Because then I just have movement now. Now I move to a different spot. Now I'm shining in a different place, but my light's not dimmed. If I were to hand them my light and say, here, brighten your life up a little bit, and then they were to throw it away, now I don't have my light. But if I'm so solid with where I am, that I'm so solid that I can help others and their ships while mine isn't sinking, then if there's a sinking and then I'm trying to throw them a life raft, I'm like, yo, grab the life raft, like I can save your ship. And they're like, but I don't like the color of the life raft. My ship ain't sinking. I'm still sitting on mine trying to help yours, bro, but you're just not grabbing the life raft. You have a choice in that. And that's where I think that a lot of people have to understand that, and then we have to drop that expectation that if we're going to love somebody, love them fully. And if they don't reciprocate that love, that's fine, because I love myself anyways. I didn't need your love. Self-love, real self-love, to a point that I don't need no one else to fill my cup up. My shit's been full. I'm just like flicking little water off the top just to help your shit, right?
I think you're right. I think I may have been loving with expectation.
Possibly.
That's something it's not easy learning these things, and that's what I'm saying. You have to go through trauma, and you have to love the wrong people, and you have to see that the way that they mishandled your heart and the way they mishandled your energy and your soul, and that's what gets you to a place that you're like, oh, I get it. You have to love, and without that expectation, I'm not giving them my heart, I'm only giving them an extension of my heart. But if I give you my heart, then I'm giving you the ability to break it. But if I'm just shining my love at you and I'm like, I love you, and I'll this is what love looks like, I don't care if you're showing it back, that's when you don't get hurt, because you never expected them to relay it anyways, you know? And that just takes so much trauma. And I can say it to everyone who's watching right now, and be like, just don't love without expectation. But guess what? You're gonna have to go love with expectation. You're gonna have to get your fucking heart broken. And you're gonna have somebody fucking misuse your love and your heart for you to get to a place that's like, oh, I get it. I see what he's saying.
It's kind of like, remember when you were talking about unconditional love, and you said it's not really doable. You have to love with conditions.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that unconditional love is almost like you're loving without the expectation of getting anything in return. Because unconditional love doesn't just apply to a significant other. It applies to, me to you guys.
Let me say it like this. You don't really, I don't want to say you don't. I didn't understand real unconditional love until I had kids. Because my kids could murder somebody and I would still love them. I would be disappointed, but I'd love them. They could say something bad to me and I would still love them. They could do the most horrible things, but at the end of the day, I will always love my children, and that's real unconditional love. My partner does something stupid like that, then that's probably conditional love, like get the fuck out of my house type shit, right? Like don't ever fucking do that again. But when you start, like when you feel that real unconditional love, then you kind of get it. Because then now you have the capacity in which you know what it feels like. Just like with the trauma and how you deal with problems. Yeah. Now I know what that love feels like. Yeah. So now I'm actually in a position to love myself like that.
Yeah. 100%.
And then I'm able to love somebody else like that because I know what it feels like,
Yeah.
It's charted territory.
Yeah. Because I used to be the same way. It's like you want to help everyone. Like you want to bring everyone on your same boat. You want to bring everyone on your team. You want to bring everyone to the top of that mountain. But it's like, once you start doing that with that expectation, it's almost like it makes it a lot harder for you to get to the top of the mountain, because now you're like doing this with expectation, and it leads to disappointment. And I struggled with wanting to constantly help everyone and love on everyone and expecting something in return. And after years and time again of disappointment, I had to learn now. It's like I'm at the place in my life where I'm like, I'll love you, and I'll do right by you, and I don't expect anything in return. Because at the end of the day, it's like, if I give you all this love and you give me nothing back, that's totally fine. Because I'm still doing me. I'm still going up the mountain. I'm still staying on the path. And if you don't want that, then that's fine. And it's the same thing with help. Like I've tried helping people, and they just like, yeah, I want the help. And you give it to them, and then they don't take it. It's like, why should I be disappointed in them? I'm still good.
Well, let me ask a question. I would be disappointed because you have agreed to an expectation. That's why I would be disappointed. I don't want to drift away from the fact that you just said they wanted help and that they wanted to work on themselves. Why agree to something that you're not fully committed to? That's where
human error.
Yeah.
There's a human error. A human error which think they want it, and you know better because you're more wise and you've been through more stuff. That when I hear people say that, I, in the back of my head, say, you probably don't want it enough to change. You're saying you want it, so I know that if I do give this and you don't change because of that, I don't have the expectation for you to do it, because I understand that there's a human error. That I understand that.
Or you're making an agreement based off emotion like during the current time. It'd be different if that's like who you like were always as a person, and then you ask for help because you thought about from a third person's point of view that you want this agreement to happen. Or something bad just happened to you, you reach out for all kinds of help, and all of a sudden when people are finally helping you and you're no longer feeling like that, that's when you start pushing people away.
Yeah. Or you're afraid of change.
So maybe I'm just trying to simplify it, but does that mean that there's only two types of people? People who genuinely embrace change and that's just their nature, and people who don't?
I think there's generally one person. It's the person that has the delusion that somebody else can fix them. When it always is you have to fix yourself. And we lean on the crutch of leaning on others to try and fix us. But we have to be our own superheroes. This is our movies. We can't expect someone else to come be the main character and save us from something that we're supposed to save ourselves from. And that's one thing I realized too. I tried to lean on so many people trying to save me and like help me with my emotions, and then I did it myself. And then I understood that it's possible. You can do it yourself. And that's how it's supposed to be. But then we relied too much on like, oh, that person looks like they have their shit together. Come give me advice. Come tell me what to do. No, you should go by yourself. You should go sit by yourself and listen to their higher self, what it's saying to you. Let go of all that fucking jargon, that all the traumas and the rituals and habits that are fucked up in your head because of bad things that happen to you. Let go of all that shit and listen to what your higher self is saying, because then you might be able to fix yourself and you won't have to ask nobody.
Why do some people not want to change?
Because they've been in that situation so long, and it's a routine. It's what's most comfortable. You want to stay in a comfortable in a comfortable position, even if it's not going to get you where you need to go.
Mm-hmm. Or they see an outcome that they really desire, but they're not looking past it. Mm-hmm. For example, if somebody cheats on their significant other, they see something right in front of them that they want, but they're not looking past it and seeing what they're ruining. Something like that.
We're conditioned our whole lives to be a certain way. That's muscle memory. And like I've made videos about, it takes 500 repetitions for muscle memory, 10,000 repetitions to master a movement. And that's in your brain too. So to think that every single person on this earth is willing to put in the internal work of 500 reps of doing something differently, repetitively, to change a behavior, it's unlikely. It takes a really disciplined and great human being to take a look at themselves and be like, I'm wrong in this, and this. This has to change. I have to rewire my computer system and change what's going on because I'm the problem. I'm the one that's doing all this shit that's making my life fucked up. And I have to go through the 500 repetitions of changing the behavior, changing the mindsets, and changing everything that's in my circle in order to make a different outcome. And most people aren't willing to put in that work.
What is the matrix?
To me, the matrix is the conditioning. The conditioning of following suit behind the millions of people that have walked this path, that had treaded this path, so the grass is fucking patted down. Let's walk this path. And then once in a while, we have a person that goes, but I think that path is a little bit faster right there, but the grass is a little bit overgrown. And then they take a leap into the unknown because they know that something better or closer or something that's more beneficial is there.
What pushes you over the edge to choose the unknown path?
Your own bullshit. Sincerely, it's your own bullshit. Like, you get to a point, if your life is so shitty, you get to a point in your life that you're sitting there and you start blaming everybody else, right? She did this to me, he did that to me, my parents did this to me, blah, 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 blah. And then you realize that you can't control any of those variables that you're blaming. And that your life will continuously downfall until you realize that you're the reason why you're in the situation that you are. They might have done what they did to you, but you did the 5 years after that of feeling fucking sorry for yourself and not fixing it right after it happened. So that knowing that you're the cause, you're the solution, that is everything. And then I think that that's how you break out of the matrix, because we're conditioned to go get the 9-to-5 job. We're conditioned to go to college. We're conditioned to have a white picket fence and have a dog and all these things. We're conditioned to believe those things because that's what society wants us to think that that's happiness. Breaking out of the matrix is understanding that this life is whatever the fuck we want it to be. Whatever we want it to be. If I want to be a fucking bum millionaire but live on the fucking beach, I could do that. I can fucking do that. That's my choice. I don't have to have a white picket fence or anything. I can break out of the matrix and make whatever reality I want because I'm the creator of my world. Understanding that is taking your power back. That's understanding that you are the problem and you are the solution, and that you can change anything that's in your life as long as you're not blaming everybody fucking else for it. And that's taking responsibility for your life. And that's real power. And that's breaking out the matrix. In my mind, that is. Some people make it a money thing. Mine's a fucking creation thing. To be able to create a world that I think, that I want, that my kids would be happy in, or whatever. That's what I look at it as, you know? Because not many people right now will have the courage to do that. But on the other edge of that is bliss. And you know that. You see all these guys living a life of just straight just being amazing. It's just whatever they are, whatever they're doing is amazing because they took a leap into the unknown.
You're outside of the matrix. Are you, I don't want to say okay, are you prepared to live the rest of your life knowing that the majority of people will never understand you?
Here's the thing. Once you take the rose-colored glasses off, you can never put them back on. So when I look around, I see the bullshit. I see the fucked up people that don't want to heal. I see that people are just willing to die pissed off, opposed to healing and living life of bliss. I see that. And that is the curse behind breaking out of that mind structure and out of the matrix, is that you see everyone for who they are now and not for what society's told them that they were. And that's the hardest part about it, because you want to save everybody. But that's the thing, like take me as a trainer or a high-level powerlifting coach. If I looked at it the same way as me always wanting to help people like that, I would walk into every gym and be like, oh God, that guy's using his lower back way too much. I gotta help him right now, right? Every single person has horrible technique. I'd go up to them, hey, you're not doing that. But guess who does that? The beginners do that because they want to regurgitate what they just learned. But a real mature leader or coach knows that people have to get to a point of change. And then we can guide them after that. Like if you watch any great motivator like Tony Robbins, he'll always talk about that. Like, you have to make that decision. And I made a video about making a contract with yourself. You have to make a contract with yourself. And it can't be no and, if, no buts about it. You have to make a change. If you have to be so fed up with the bullshit that you're literally going to take that leap of faith.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
That's exactly right. And that's the really hard part about it. If I would say that there's one really hard part about me being where I am, that's caused me some sort of depression, because I've watched my loved ones not be able to break out of it. And I've only wanted to help the people that I love. You know what I'm saying? And that's been the hardest thing for me. So I've had to watch people that I love make horrible mistakes over and over and over again because they have the rose-colored glasses still on. And I wish I could just grab it off their face and say, can't you see clearly? Can't you see it?
Thank you so much for saying that, because I feel the exact same way. I watch people in day-to-day life that I care deeply about, and I want them to succeed so bad. And what hurts more than anything is when they know that they're stuck, and they know that they're in a deficit, and they know that they're not going to try. And I heard someone say it to me the other day, and it broke my heart. And they'll never know how much pain it caused me to hear them say, I know where I am, and I'm not going to move.
That's tough, man. It's almost like watching someone die of an addiction when they know that they have an addiction problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a fucking disease. The life that we're living is a disease.
I am motivated heavily by fear. What are you motivated by?
Fear. I mean, Mike Tyson talks about it all the time. Fear is your friend. Anything that I've ever been fearful from has been something amazing on the other end of it. I talk about Will Smith when he talks about when he went skydiving. That when the night before he went skydiving, he couldn't sleep, but he was fucking tripping balls. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? I'm jumping off this airplane. Until he actually walked up to the point and then jumped off, all the fear left. And he said he was the most enjoyed moment he's ever had in his life. And so I look at that, like, and now I invite fear, I invite trauma. I don't want trauma, but I know that there's a lesson to be learned, and I know that something better is beyond that. And a momentary discomfort will happen, yeah, and I might get my heart hurt a little bit, but man, at the other end of that, the universe blesses motherfuckers who lean into fear, who lean into trauma and be like, okay, let's go. And then I'm gonna fucking stand up and I'm gonna fucking deal with it. Let's go. That's where real abundance is. Because if I could stack all that shit up over every single day, if I can overcome a fear that actually used to be my goal every day, was to overcome one fear. And my fear was to go in the ocean at 4 o'clock in the morning and feel that coldness. And that was my win every day. I try to overcome one thing every day. And sometimes the fears are a lot smaller than other days. Sometimes the fear is just walking out of my door. But then I do that. and then something great usually happens. You know what I mean? At the other end of that.
I wonder if that's one of the keys to the Matrix, is developing a healthy relationship with fear and with failure.
It's an illusion. Fear is an illusion that we've created in our head that's trying to protect us for survival. That's not a real fucking thing. Because what is fear? If I'm fearful, I'm telling myself that if this shit fucking happens, I will fucking die because of it. But 99.9% of the things that we're fearful of will never kill us. It might hurt a little bit, but it's not gonna fucking kill us. But then our bodies have gone into fight or flight, telling us that if we do that, we'll die. If I take this opportunity, I'll lose my house. Or if I invest this money into this business, I won't be able to pay my bills, right? Are you gonna fucking die? No, you're not gonna die. You'll figure it out. And then you do it, and then it happens way better than you thought it was, and you're like, why was I so fucking scared, dude? But then that's where you become the high ironed person that you're supposed to be, is that when you take that leap of faith and you're like, fuck, dude, that shit worked out, bro. Let's fucking do it again. Then your standards for your life get risen to a point that's like, you don't accept anything less than that. Like, this is the standard now. $100,000 a year, that's the fucking standard. If I'm not making more than that, I'm not happy with myself and what's going on. So every time I take a leap of faith now, my standard is raised. And it keeps going. And then now I know that, like, fear is an illusion. It's only there to hold me where I am right now because that doesn't want me to grow.
You talked about the goalposts moving forward. When we get out of the Matrix, when we find ourselves, do we ever stop pursuing achievements?
No. That's what you realize. When you get out of the Matrix is, or when you're in the Matrix and you're conditioned to be in the system, they've taught you to get on your hamster wheel and just run. There's no self-improvement there. You're not moving, you're acting like you're moving. When you get out of the Matrix, you realize that the whole reason for life is sharpening your soul for the afterlife. That you have to become the best person possible, and that comes with self-education, having as many tools as possible, having to be the best human possible. All those things come into play now once I realize that I'm outside the Matrix, because then you realize you control your own reality. You are your own creator, and in that, you are your most valuable asset. So you have to invest in your most valuable asset. When I see people spend a lot of money on their clothes, on their jewelry, all these things, they're missing the point of life. They're investing in the wrong things. They're not investing in the person that's being put in that clothes and in the jewelry. They're investing on the things they're putting on top of them because they're not willing to do the work, and they're just trying to show an illusion that they're worth more than they actually are. But if we were to strip down and all be butt naked, I guarantee that I'd be worth more than a lot of these motherfuckers out here anyways. Because of the self-worth and the work that I've put in on myself, because I've understood that I am the creator of my own reality now.
Is the only true worth self-worth?
Maybe the only one that makes a difference for you. Because this is my favorite saying, I will take care of me for you. You take care of you for me. And that comes down to self-worth, self-love. And then to think about that, because we've been taught that, let me take care of you for you, right? Because I care about you. And then we forget to take care of ourselves. And then now we become emotionally broke. We have emotional poverty because we've given all our emotional currency away. But if I take care of me and I'm as solid as fucking possible so that I can take care of you, and then you do the same in return, now this is reciprocal. Now we're in a position that we're both high vibrational people. And then now we can go change the fucking world together.
It's the oxygen mask.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then it all, like, no matter which way you flip it, which way you say it, it all comes down to the same thing of self-worth, self-love, protecting yourself, and in that you're loving others in that process. And in that you build your tools. You start making money because you're more valuable to the market. because now you have something that most people don't have, which is a skill that people don't want to learn. You know what I'm saying? So now you're not only valuable to the world, you're valuable to people that want to pay you for it. And then now you're making more money, and that's when abundance comes in. So when you love yourself more, you work on your fitness more, you become a better person overall, you become much more valuable to this world. And then it's not always monetary value that matters, but it equivalates to that most of the time.
How do we keep this together? How do we keep believing in each other?
I think I already answered that. I'll take care of me for you, you take care of you for me, and then that's going to take care of itself. And in that, our group will never split up, because we'll never find 4 other individuals that were willing to do that. Right? That's not normal. It's not a normal fucking thing to find people that are willing to do shit like that. It's always what can you do for me? Conditional.
Was this luck, or do we just truly gravitate towards like minds?
This is divine fate. It's not an accident that people like us find each other. This is a soul tribe. Soul tribes are put together because of vibration, because of the energy of the earth. We randomly found each other. You randomly walked up to me at the gym and said, "Oh, you're fucking really strong." And then that relationship started. And then you saw me on the TV and you're like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Right? That's what happened. But you didn't fucking know who I was. And I stayed by myself because so many people want to talk to me. You know what I mean? Like, I just like, "Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Nice to see you." Like, but you came up to me with a genuine energy that you genuinely didn't know who I was, and you didn't fucking care. Like, wow, you're fucking strong. You're benching 365 on incline. That's cool. Good for you, man. That's dope as fuck. It's nice to meet you. Like, oh, fuck, he doesn't know who I am? That's tight, dude. What's up? Hey, come over here. Talk to me a little bit. And then what happened when we saw each other at the compound the next time? That energy clashed, and we were like, this feels right. And we can't fight those feelings. That, if I'm learning that from life, when people make you feel bad, don't fight that feeling. They're not right for you. When people make you feel good, don't fight that feeling. They're right for you. Don't fucking resist the universe trying to tell you, and your fucking spirit guides telling you that person's not fucking right for you. Yeah, you see all these red flags? Your spirit guides are like, yeah, bitch, we're showing you that shit. Kick rocks, like, tell them to leave. But then we're so captivated by our past with them, or they were there for me once upon a time, or they loved me, they used to love me, they might love me again. So we're not willing to do that stuff. But if we took a present moment on showing, because we grow as people every minute. Every single minute we're growing, and other people that we're with are growing in that same minute. They have a choice on which direction they're growing. Are they growing towards you or away from you? Yeah. And in that moment, you're allowed to decide, that person grew away from me. I'm going to protect where I'm going, because you can be magnified to that direction where you don't want to go because you're trying to chase that other person. And that's my fear, is that I will be deterred from my purpose and my path because of somebody else going in the other direction when I think that they're coming towards me.
So is the best idea to not look for people? They'll just find you when they're supposed to find you?
I think that that's how the universe works.
We talked about that.
I think that's exactly how the universe works.
We talked about that with significant other. You said, rather than looking for one, just be good with yourself.
We gotta stop putting triangle pegs in square holes.
Oof.
Gotta stop forcing them in there, man. We can shave them down all we want, but it's still not the same shape, right? And I've done that my whole life. I've had situations that I've held on to things for way too long when the universe is telling me, let that shit go. It's not right for you. But that's the thing. As much as the universe does for us, we still have the choices to do things. Like, stay with a fucking horrible partner. Or stay in a horrible job situation. We have the choice to do those things, but the universe will give us signs being like, bro, I've been telling you for years, don't fucking stop doing it, like leave. Why does my boss keep coming in and screaming at me? You don't think the universe like fucking made that your boss's wife mad at him to yell at him so that the boss comes to work and yells at you? Because their universe is telling you you shouldn't be in that job no more? Wow. It's deeper than that. And when you're divinely touched in ways that you're supposed to have purpose in this life, the universe will work hard to get you out of situations so you find what you're supposed to do in this life, because it knows that this world will be a higher vibrational when you leave. And that's what it's really about. If you feel like you are called for something bigger, trust that shit. That's real. You were born with that. Fucking go do something with that. Trust what the universe is telling you. It's not easy. You'll have to fight your fears. And that's where the other side of where the best version of who you are is the other side of your fears. It all is all fucking tied together. It's like a big circle.
So it truly is that it doesn't get easier. You just get better at handling it.
Mm-hmm. We don't ask for an easier life. We ask to be stronger to deal with a harder life. Right? I don't ask for lighter weights. I ask for heavier weights to build bigger muscles. Right? My mind, my soul, my character, my morality are muscles. I have to exercise them. And that takes more trauma, unfortunately. It takes more heartbreak, unfortunately. But guess what? That's getting stronger every single time. Every time that heart breaks and I mend it, that heart gets a little bit bigger. It's able to deal with more now because of what it went through. But you have to know how to heal. That's the most important part of it all. Is that there's no use of you going through all these motherfucking traumas if you don't know how to heal from what you went through. And that comes down to people not actually sitting down with themselves. Going through life, ignoring, drinking, drugs, trying to be partying, being around people that are just fun, just, oh, but I love those people, they're always laughing. Yeah, those are broken fucking people. Broken people fuck with broken people because they don't want to deal with their problems.
They're just adding inhibitors to block from what they really need to do, which is heal.
Instant gratifications. I don't get to think about what my dad put me through because I'm hanging out with people that are getting drunk and they're making me laugh. Or if this fucking blunt is making me not think about that shit, so I'm gonna hang out with other people that are smoking tree too, right? But if I'm with people that are talking about healing and becoming the best version of themselves, there's gonna be a point that I sit down and be like, what haven't I dealt with? Why do I lash out at my partner when they say things to me that makes me feel abandoned? Is it because I feel like my family abandoned me? Should I address that fact? You know what I'm saying? Should I look at that and be like, okay, I forgive those people who did that to me, and I also forgive myself for going through it.
How do people find a healthy dichotomy with themselves as high vibration energies and the energies that they have to deal with on a regular basis that are in those 9-to-5 jobs, that are at their church, that's at their gym? How do they balance that relationship where those two things need to remain separate, but they need to remain cordial?
I feel like the thing that makes it so is your ability to be by yourself. Because I feel like we are wired as humans to have the answers that we're seeking. And we won't be able to find them until we quiet all the other voices around us externally to hear the answers that we're looking for. So if we don't know those answers and I sit down and I receive that download, then I know how to deal with people in those situations. But like I said, I could say till I'm blue in my fucking face that do this, do that. Don't treat people like this. But for someone to actually hear that and be like, make change is very unlikely. They have to go sit down and make the change for themselves and sit down with themselves. You know what I mean? I feel like that's where the real answer and the best advice I could give anybody is don't be afraid to be by yourself. Go sit down. Don't be scared of the demons that have been fucking haunting you for your whole life. They're babies compared to what you think they are. You've built them up so much in your brain over the years of conditioning and scared. I'm fearful of the things that hurt me when they're fucking little mice. And the second that you take them out, you realize how small they actually were. But you have to go back to that moment that it happened. And then you realize that I could go right back to that moment, heal from that exact moment, and then the whole trail of shit that caused from there goes away too. And then that's how you unload your plate. And that's how you become a high vibrational person. That's real self-love.
Cheers.